now that we have that in place, let's talk about how to find a job. I'm going to talk about playing the student card, which is a term that I made up, how to prepare for a job search, and then we'll talk about internships, networking, the 2 ways of developing networks, and then how do you play the network? How do you use the network? I was off. They gave me this monitor so that I'd be on camera on the right angle. So the first paradox for job hunting is you can't get a job if you don't have the experience, and can't get the experience if you don't have the job. The other paradox, and this one I've seen this many times, is when in the real world, I shouldn't say in the real world, outside of college, if you don't have a job and you're looking for a job, it's like you have a social disease. Nobody wants to talk to you. It's just, you've ever seen this like with the relationships? Is there maybe somebody that you were interested in? Nah, not really. And then they hook up with somebody else and you go, oh man, that's a person that I really wanted to have. It's if somebody else finds you employable, that is a huge indication. So, and when I was a sales manager, every time somebody picked up, I'd pick up the phone, and back then we used phones. I would pick up the phone, and it's somebody that I hadn't met or hadn't seen for 20 years or 15 years. It was always, I'm just touching base with all my old friends, and oh, by the way, I just lost my job. Anybody know anything that's happening out there? So one of the things that's nice, and actually during the Great Recession that was a big issue because there were a lot of people who lost their jobs who were highly qualified people, and because they had that stigma of not having a job, they found it even harder to get reemployed because they didn't have a job. It's just a prejudice. So what happens is, why I call this the student card, is as students, we give you a bye. Because it's okay if you don't have a job while you're in college. You're not expected to have a job while you're in college. So that gives you the opportunity to approach people, to network with people without being seen. Because what happens is when people are networking, looking for a job, instantly the defenses go up. As soon as I know you're looking for a job or you're trying to hit me up for a job, the defenses go up and I'm going to distance myself from you. As a student, that isn't happen because you don't have a job. It's okay, you know what I mean? And there's another thing, I think, another thing, it's called the generative instinct. And the generative instinct is that people about my age are starting to look for meaning in their lives. What was this all about? I worked in industry for 20 years and I've got a lot of money and a great car, but what does it mean? They're looking for meaning in their life. So when a young person comes to them and says, I think that you have been successful, can you share with me how I might be as successful as you? Is that something that I want to hear? And there's just a natural, I want to mentor younger people. It's a way of bringing meaning into my life, to giving meaning to my career, the fact that I was able to identify and help promising young people. So again, that's in your advantage as a student, because students are not people that I have to shut down because they're looking for a job. They are people who are exploring a career. Big difference. And again, everybody knows that you're looking for a job, but because you're a student, you have that pass. I call it playing the student card. You can network, you can ask for interviews, you can ask to meet people without them immediately shutting down because they don't want to have to say no to you. And through this generative instinct, they want to feel that they have significance in their lives. Those are two things that are working in your advantage. So, first thing you have to do is figure out what you want to do when you grow up. And this is when I talk to people about jobs and just careers, that's the first question I ask, and a lot of people don't have an answer to that question. I don't know. I'm just looking for a job that has good working conditions, and I'll do anything that they ask. There's no employers out there that are looking for people who are willing to do anything that they're asked, especially at the managerial level. Gospel according to Bruce, the difference between an hourly job and a salary job is an hourly job you're told what to do. A salary job you're expected to figure out what to do. And if you want to be told what to do, you'll have a name tag on your name tag on your uniform for the rest of your life. So again, if you don't know what you want to do right now, you're a junior in college, pick something. When I was your age, the common wisdom was that a person was going to change jobs 5 times over the course of their career. The latest statistic that I've looked at is people entering the job market today can anticipate changing careers 8 times over the course of their working life. So just because what you picked isn't going to be your lifelong passion, it's a good place to start. And you can always learn things on the job that will give you the experience that will allow you to take the step in the direction that you want to go, and it might help you find the direction you want to go. I've talked to a lot of people, like I majored in journalism. And when I got my first journalism job, I realized journalism wasn't for me. But I got that job, and then I can get the experience and I can move from one job to the other, again, as long as you're working. So the first thing I'd suggest is figure out what you want to do when you grow up, and then identify 5 companies that hire that kind of person or employ that kind of person, and put that as your list. These are 5 people that I would like to work for, 5 companies that I would like to work for, okay? And then I want you to identify at least one person in each of those companies, preferably more, that have the job that you want. Not the entry-level job that you want, but the job that you want. You want to be a director of advertising, then you want to talk to somebody who's a director of advertising. Okay? And how do you find the names of people who have the job that you want? Google. What else? Yeah. LinkedIn. What else? Yeah. Company's website. What else? Calling who? Call the switchboard. I'd like to talk to somebody in your marketing department. I'm a college student, and I'll talk about some of the techniques that you can use to get there. What else? Meetups. Yeah. Pretty much every profession has a trade organization, and at this university, many of them have student versions of the organization. So there's an American Marketing Association, there's a Student Marketing Association, there's accounting societies, there's finance societies. All of them offer reduced rate memberships to students, like ridiculously reduced rate memberships to students. So attend a trade meeting and talk to people and say, so where do the marketing directors sit? And go up and meet them, okay? So it's just, you can do this. So before you start the search, before you use these techniques that I'm going to share with you, you need to have this in place, because if you don't, if you don't know where you're going, you'll never know when you get there. So 5 companies, the job that you want, 5 companies that have that position in there that you would like to work for, and then the names of people in that company that have that job, okay? So your goal is to make a contact, at least one contact with each of these people before you graduate. And how do you do that? Well, there's lots of ways. One way is the internship. We talked about this before. I talked out of it out of order. Again, everybody that I've talked to in the industry and in any situation, an internship is the single most powerful thing that you can do while you're in college to make yourself employable. And you can do 2 of them here for credit.